Hi, this is John from whatifi, and in today's video we're going to cover a case study of Blinkmoon Games. Blinkmoon Games is a Vancouver-based gaming company, and as they're starting to build their own proprietary video games, they are starting to look at business models and financial forecasts for different pricing of their game products. In gaming, there's a very unique concept called freemium, and that means that games can quite often be free to download and install, and then players are segmented into different types of spending patterns. In gaming, they're usually called either whales, dolphins, or minnows, and these are cohorts, whales being big spenders, minnows being very small spenders, and dolphins being in between. These can be things like in-game add-ons, extra levels, power packs, etc., that allow players to spend money to improve their gaming experience. There's an art, though, in making sure that players feel like they have a fair chance at playing the game, so stacking a game to only support whales may mean that they lose some of their early adopters, like the minnows, that could be sharing access and brand awareness of the game. So there is an art to balancing these three different segments, both for profitability and for adoption. So in this scenario here, and this is not a real scenario for Blinkmoon Games, this is an example scenario, but they are using this type of technology in their forecasts. We're going to model an example of what a gaming segment and allocation model might look like. So in here, we are connecting together a series of pre-built business logic events. We have initial balance, customers, growth, website visitors. We're looking at campaign sales, doing cost per click funnels to drive more visitors to our website. We're using a customer conversion funnel event to see how many of those initial pre-launch signups actually start to play the game. We're also converting the number of website visitors that actually play the game. Players do churn out, so we have a customer churn event there. We have our segment event, and then we have our four concurrent scenarios. One is where we are allocating a high propensity of whales, 20%, 30%, 50% of players, and then also a worst case, which assumes that most of our players are minnows and only a small percentage of players are whales. We have a unit cost event where we model out different player spend patterns for each of those cohorts, and then we're also multiplying out two different types of revenue scenarios, one with the high spend and one with the low spend. Every single unique path through the scenario canvas here is called a thread. And on the right-hand side, we can see all four scenarios modeled out concurrently. And at any particular stage, we can push any of those to the graph. We can see those monthly or cumulatively. And we have access to a whole host of accounts here that we can look at to determine different drivers and variables and outputs for this model when we're making some of our decisions. So for example, here we could look at any particular stage at the number of active customers in every single model. We can look at the number of website visitors in these different models. We can look at the number of launch signups in each of these models here all at the same time. But let's start by digging a little deeper into this scenario itself. So let's start at the top here. One, in this fictional example here for Blinkmoon, there's an initial balance of $500,000 cash on hand. There are two customer cohorts. There are their pre-game initial signups. So there are 5,000 people that have signed up for this game that are on the mailing list. And then we have an active users, which is 0 initially. In our next event, we are assuming that our pre-launch signups are growing 5% month over month. We have website visitors, and we're saying 1,000 people are visiting our website by default. But then we have a campaign event. And in our campaign event, we have two different campaigns. And I'm going to dig a little deeper here. So in our campaign modal, we have our first campaign, which is a splashy initial launch. So for 3 months, Blinkmoon is going to spend $50,000 driving people to their website. They think it's going to be $15 per paid visit, which means they're going to drive approximately 3,300 people to their website every month. Then they're going to have an ongoing cost per click campaign, which is a smaller spend, $5,000 a month, and it's going to run starting in February in perpetuity, with an expected cost of $20 per paid visitor, and this is going to send 250 people to their website every month. Back to our events over here. Then we have our initial activations. So we're assuming that when the game goes live in November, that maybe 20% of our initial players that have signed up will actually start to play the game itself. So that's our conversion rate on activations. We have another conversion rate that says, well, what if those people that visit our website, what if 10% of them actually sign up and become active users there as well? And we could very easily model different variations of that. What if 15%? What if 20%? Those are all possible in this scenario. In gaming, players do churn out. So here we are modeling what if 3% of all of our active signups churn out every month of the game. And then we get into our segments again. So as before, we have our gamer segments, which we're establishing in our segment event of whales, dolphins, and minnows. And then we have those two scenarios. So again, we have our best case scenario, which assumes a larger distribution of whales, smaller distribution of minnows overall. Or we have our worst case scenario, where there are a lot more minnows and a lot less whales that are playing the game. Those then funnel into our unit cost event here, where we've modeled out 6 different spend patterns. So we've modeled out everything from a whale's high spend of $150 a month to a whale's low spend of $100. We've done the same thing for dolphins, and we've done the same thing for minnows. So for example, $10 on the high side and $5 on the low side. These then funnel into our game revenue scenarios. In our best case, we are taking our whales segment, and they are spending the high spend, and we've done that as well for dolphins and for minnows. And in our other scenario, it is all the worst case scenario with the lower spend there. And lastly, we have a goal event. A goal event you can apply to any particular account. So here we have one goal that we want to say we want to have 3,500 active users cumulatively here, effective January, February, March, April 1st of 2024. And then we also have a profit one here, where we're looking at having $1.5 million in profit here, effective the beginning of 2025. So let's take a closer look at some of these things and see what we can sort of see on our graph here. So let's start out here and look at our active customers. So we have all of our scenarios that are here right now. So again, we're able to look at our cash flow, for example, and see these different patterns that play out, both monthly and cumulatively for something like cash flow. We can also do that for profit. So we can see our profit, whether monthly or cumulatively, is here as well. And here you can see our goal. So we set a goal here of having $1.5 million in profit effective the beginning of January. And we can see from our 4 scenarios, only one of them, this orange scenario here, the best case allocation and the best case revenue, actually exceeds that goal. The other 3 all fall short of that goal. Again, we look at this from any different type of lens if we want to here, whether it's website visitors, right? And again, what's interesting about website visitors is you can see here when our campaign event actually kicks in. And here you can see that large campaign spend and then the regular campaign spend that is driving more users to our website. That's a basic high-level version of a growth and modeling scenario for a gaming company where you're looking at non-typical spend patterns. So it's not a software as a service type company with fixed spending patterns there, where we're able to model out different scenarios there all in real time. At any particular stage, you could use this technology to drill deeper into any one of these scenarios. For example, we could drill deeper into our best case scenario here if we wanted to, and we can use our per event graphing mode to dig a bit deeper. So maybe we want to cumulatively understand how our customers grow over time. We could look at our customer event here, like our active customers, and step through this model one event at a time, and bit by bit by bit add in more and more of those customers. We could also look at something like an individual mode, where you can see just what's going on in a single event here. So for example, here we are just seeing monthly or cumulative churn of customers over time, and we can understand how many players churn out in this given model over the duration of the scenario. That's the basics of whatifi. If you have more questions or you're interested in building a similar type model for your business or one of your clients, please reach out, and we look forward to talking more soon. Again, this model is available to you, and you're welcome to click around and experiment with it, and we're happy to answer any questions. Thanks.